Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Cycle Sunday podcast. Mr. Bowker, how are you, sir?
Absolutely fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Greaves. If a
Liar,
little
liar,
tired.
pants on fire. You are a man burning both ends of the candle on full afterburner at the moment.
Yes, my wife actually referred to me as the Duracell bunny who even was starting to run out of energy.
So, yes, guys, so if you've just watched episode 6 of Cycle Sunday, I guess we've got lots of explaining to do, but also just to explain the timeline. We recorded, or it was literally just last weekend
Yep.
that I was up at the new wonderful bike shop
Yes.
with you filming. Because I guess it's quite difficult if you're watching the episodes on the YouTube channel or you're listening to the podcast to know exactly when we filmed or recorded them, because we haven't done it in a kind of, we don't record them on a Sunday once a week. We
Sure.
do them in batches.
Yep.
So it was literally just last week, and I guess people have probably figured out from the video that the last few weeks for you guys must have been properly full on, because the shop's only been open, I don't know, a week and a half, 2 weeks, I suppose.
Correct. Yeah. So it's been utterly brutal. And interestingly, we actually closed the old shop and emptied the old shop. And reopened the new shop and didn't actually lose a day's trading.
See, that doesn't surprise me, knowing you. You wouldn't have said, I know, we'll factor in a day of downtime, a day of having the shop closed. No,
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 you've got customers that need
correct,
sorting out.
correct. The
Yeah.
answer is yes. Now, what's the
Um,
question?
yeah. And the bit that amazes me though is that the old shop was what, about 1,500 square feet. The new one is just over 6,000 square feet.
Correct.
And you moved in 72 hours, as you just said, but
Yeah.
you didn't, in the process of moving, acquire any new stock, yet the new shop looks full.
Yes.
So I don't know where it all went in the old place.
No, and
It's like a
no,
TARDIS.
no, neither do we. It's- but I think the key thing is everything's now got proper room to breathe. It's just a lovely place to be, not only for customers but also for staff. And
Mm.
what was really nice today, it was an absolutely glorious day. And the two technicians, where we are now, we're on the same site, but we're just on a different side of the site. And what was
Mm.
absolutely lovely today was that the technicians who were in today actually went and had lunch together on the picnic tables out the front of the store, and they've just never done that before. So
Mm.
that they're even feeling happier and really buzzed and excited, and it's just wonderful, absolutely wonderful.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well,
Yeah,
maybe a bit later on in this podcast, we'll talk more about the store and exactly what your,
sure,
if you like, your hopes and plans are, and some of the amazing things
sure.
you're doing. But I guess we probably need to address relatively quickly well, for us, massive disappointment that the plans that
Yes,
we've been hatching since back end of last year. And again, just
yeah,
to give people some context, and you don't just put a series like this on with no planning at all. We've been talking about this and planning it and working out timings and arranging things for a very long time.
yes,
And it was
yes,
all planned around the opening of your new store, so that I could come up literally a week later. We build the bike in the
yeah,
new store, and it was a way of you
yeah.
feel like showcasing your new store. And we kind of worked that timeline backwards. So
Yes, yes, indeed.
the first 5 episodes, we actually filmed all of those over a weekend at the beginning of January, and then kind of
Yes,
sat on them. And obviously, it took me quite a long time to edit them. And then we dropped the first one, um, so that episode 6 would be able to be shot in your new store.
yes,
And
yes,
obviously, in the first couple, we already knew the bike that we wanted to build, and we were
yeah,
able to work out the correct frame size, as everybody knows by now, with just an inseam measurement and a height measurement. And we were
correct.
therefore able to order the frame in advance of that
Yes,
filming in January.
yes.
But we were pretty lucky getting the frame, weren't we?
Oh, very much so. Very much so. I mean, there weren't many left in production of that sort of frame size for you
Mm,
that weren't already sold and allocated.
mm,
So it was, yeah, we won a watch there, and thanks to Bianchi as well. You know, they stepped in and helped as well. There's probably
yeah,
some team guy not got a bike now, but anyway, at least
a tall one
a tall one. Yeah,
with abnormal legs. Um,
yes,
and then, so we were able to get the frame early, and that was great.
yeah,
So we knew we had the
yeah,
frame for the filming of the first, well, the first video. And then we did the bike fit over that weekend, and that during the
yes,
bike fit we were able to select the right group set, and most importantly, because we went for a slightly different crank arm length,
yeah.
and then the gear ratios that we select. What are the gear ratios I'm getting again? I can't remember.
You know, you're going to love them. You're going to absolutely love them.
Great, but
You,
thanks.
you you have been on the turbo a lot, haven't you, Pete?
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna have
Yeah,
my
yeah, yeah, yeah,
tiny little cassette at the back. But we were only really able to select them then, and but we put the order in with your suppliers,
yes,
and we were pretty confident that everything was going to be fine. And
yes,
then the train hit the backstops, right? So
yes, yes.
we mentioned in the video there is a general problem in cycling, and I don't actually think it's just in cycling. It's in lots of industries at the moment, and it's a combination of multiple factors. It's to do with the kind of obviously the global pandemic and the issues to do with the supply
Mm,
chain and manufacturing and staffing and all that kind of
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah. So as I understand it, the problem that the problem that the bike industry's got is that, and you are 100% right. It's not just the bike industry. It's virtually every industry. I mean, we've just had new windows and what have you fitted to our home. So let's say our Rosie and my house, and even then, the new fascias for the house were delayed because there wasn't enough aluminium to make those fascias in the factory. Our
Hmm.
roller shutters, yeah, our electric roller shutters for our new store, as you know, um, Richard and I are having to spend the best part of 7 days a week from 7 in the morning till 10 at night, whilst the roller shutters get fitted. Um, and that is because there is a serious lack of steel. So
Yeah.
it,
While,
so
while you're, so I'm in my Cornwall house, and we were meant to have double
yeah,
glazing windows fitted upstairs 2 weeks ago, and we're not getting
yeah,
that done until May because
yeah,
the same problem.
yes, yes, just not enough materials. So there's a materials shortage. In addition to that, that there is major shipping issues, and it's not just because somebody didn't switch the parking sensors on their ship in the Suez Canal. Um, but, um, but there is genuinely a massive shipping issue. Then you've got the global pandemic over and above that, which means that there are less people able to work in the factories in order to be able to produce the equipment as fast. Then you've got the issue with, dare I say, the B word of Brexit, of physically moving the product through customs and into the country. But then
Mm.
one of the biggest issues, I think, is that, in the industry, yeah, you've got a couple of tiny, tiny players, but your big component manufacturers, which is Shimano and SRAM and Campagnola, um, they are supplying the vast majority, 99.8% of all the bike manufacturers. Now, I don't know about
Mm.
you, but if one bike manufacturer, such as Trek, who is already taking a massive proportion of the availability of components that Shimano and SRAM can manufacture, and
Mm.
then decides, well, because of the bike boom, they are going to pre order an extra 60% growth year on year. I mean, 60% growth year on year of bike production. That's one manufacturer. Then you've got Giant and Specialized, and then you've got all of the other, tiers down from there. So you can imagine that these three component manufacturers, with all of the frame manufacturers wanting to order 60 to 70% more than they did last year. Well, how does a component manufacturer suddenly expand from X to Y in 12 months?
Yeah.
I mean, these companies are
I mean,
good.
as someone who did a degree in manufacturing, you can't.
No.
I tell you what, though, I wish I'd bought some shares in Shimano.
Well, yeah, but yeah, that's the big problem. So Shimano want to provide, all the components to be able to make all these bikes, but they can only grow so large. So that's what's happening, and one of the big concerns we've got as well. I mean, we have ordered, in 2019 and into, I mean, I even forget the year, but across 2019, we could pretty much order parts week by week. So Keith, who you know and have met, Keith's my right hand man in the store, and he basically looks after all of the week by week replenishment orders. And he could go, right, this is sold, this is sold, this is sold, and replen it, and it would arrive in stock usually the week after. This year, we have had to pre-order a minimum of 4 to 6 months supply of key parts and components in order to be able to try and just keep the bikes that we are selling serviced and on the road. And one thing that I will tell you is we will fail because there'll be parts that we go, oh, flip, that particular niche bike with that particular niche component. So it's really difficult for customers going, I don't understand, why can't I get my bike fixed? It's really difficult for the bike shops not wanting to disappoint their customers, right? We're not here to annoy you. We're here to want to help you. But then it's also really frustrating for the distributors and the manufacturers not being able to supply those components. So it's really hard. And I don't want violins or anything, but just it's hard for everybody.
No, I mean, I guess the big challenge is, if you think about you as a business person running a business, right? So if you're being able to order on a week by week basis, you can pretty much do that relatively accurately. Let's say within 90% accuracy.
Yes.
And you have to buy those bits, and I don't want you to have to divulge your business model in terms of finance, but you have to buy those bits with your money. Correct. And then sell them to a customer, get the money back, and make a margin, and that's how you make money, right? So
correct.
That's
how the lights get kept on.
Yeah, so you're investing in that. So if, however, you're having to preempt or guess what that's like in a 3 to 6 month window, firstly, you're probably having to buy a far larger amount of stock up front anyway, which means more investment. Correct. But the likelihood of getting it wrong, maybe you guess a trend and it doesn't work out that way, and you end up with a load of stock you can't shift, but you've bought.
Correct.
Or you don't guess a trend and you don't have the stock and everyone wants to buy it, which is just as bad. So it's really difficult. And I mean, what I've found really interesting in getting to know you and getting to know the team at Criterium and how you work is that back office, that the way in which it works. And there's lots of things. I mean, I've run a business and I've got a manufacturing background. I kind of understand the cogs and the wheels, but to see it actually working is actually quite scary.
Yeah, yeah.
if I'm honest.
Yes.
And then I guess that the two big things would be, and I'm using educated guesswork here, but
Yeah.
if we talk about off the peg bikes
Yeah.
first, so when someone like Trek ships you an off the peg bike,
Yeah.
in that box is everything your technicians need to make the bike, right? So it's got
Correct.
the frame, the wheels, the group set, everything.
Correct.
Just all, they might have to, put the headset on and put the wheels on and
Yeah.
do a few things, but it's all
Yeah.
in the box.
Correct.
Now, if Trek or Giant or Specialized or Bianchi, whoever it might be, if they can't get all the components from
Yeah.
Shimano or SRAM or Campag,
Yeah.
they can't physically make that bike, so they can't ship it. So you can't order a whole bike.
Correct.
And
So
that's why
this is
when someone comes into your shop and says, I need a 56 centimeter
yeah.
Demane or whatever,
Yeah.
and you say, well, actually, you can't get one of those at the moment because
Yeah.
physically Trek can't make one.
Yes. Yes. And that's the key thing is and we're seeing this in the lead times in all of our customer orders. So what will invariably happen is, you made a really great point when I saw you about Mini and their manufacturing process working
Yeah,
on that just in time basis, and
yeah.
you had a great sort of story about the seats, which you might want to share now or sometime in the
Yeah, I
future.
mean, well, I mean,
Yeah,
it's about supply chain, and I
yeah,
guess when I did my manufacturing degree 25, 30 years ago, just
yeah,
in time as a concept was just coming in, but the
yeah.
name gives it away. The idea is that as a manufacturer, you don't want to be holding lots and lots of stock
No,
because stock costs you lots of money. What you want to be able to do is have an order and bring the stock in and ship it straight away. And the
yeah,
example I was, like you said, a mini.
yeah,
So a mini at the mini plant Oxford rolls off the end of the production line about every 68 seconds.
yeah,
But when the car goes into the factory to be built, they've all got like a little barcode on them. And as the chassis or the shell, if you like, enters the factory, at
yeah,
that point,
yeah,
the seats aren't actually made. So they send a message to the seat manufacturer, which isn't that far away from Mini Plant Oxford.
yeah,
And as that Mini enters the factory, the signal to the seat manufacturer goes, make the seats, and they
yeah,
make the seats and ship them. And
yeah.
then they literally arrive and marry together in the facility just at the right time, hence just in time.
Yes,
But if you can't guarantee your
yeah,
supply chain
yes,
like you can't at the moment in the bike business,
yeah.
all of that goes out the window.
Correct. And that is the problem. So we're, you know, we're basically taking orders based on as accurate ETA data as possible. And we
Mm,
are being very open and upfront with customers that the only bike I can absolutely guarantee you're going to get on the date that I promise it is the one that I've got in stock because
yeah,
it's the only bike I've actually got control of.
yeah,
Anything that is being pre-ordered is basically, I mean, Trek is a billion-dollar company, and their manufacturing processes are it's just benchmark. I mean, it's superb.
mm,
But even then, if Trek have got a supply of bikes of a particular type of bike that's been manufactured on this particular date, Trek can manufacture the frame. And always remember, Giant, Specialized, Trek, all of these manufacturers, all they make is the frame and some of the finishing kit and components. But all
mm,
of the suspension and all of the, on e-bikes, the engines and batteries and all the remote controls and all of the drivetrain parts, that's not made by the bike manufacturer that you have got written on
yeah,
your
yeah,
down tube. That is being bought in and being fitted to the bike. And if Trek have got a certain batch of bikes that are coming in, and say, for example, Shimano, we're not picking on Shimano because they're very good as well. Just for example, don't supply the left hand crank arm The only component, the left-hand crank arm for that particular
Yeah.
batch of bikes, it don't get built. And then what happens is, if it doesn't get built,
Yeah.
it doesn't get boxed. And if it doesn't get boxed, it doesn't go into the container. If it doesn't go into the container, it doesn't get to the ship. If it doesn't get to the ship, it doesn't set sail for sea. If it doesn't set, and this is the problem that people need to understand.
Yeah.
Is the fact that that one
Yeah.
crank arm that didn't arrive could delay that batch of bikes for 3 months.
Because it's funny, I said to you when we weren't sure we were going to get the group set, I said, so how much of the group set do we need to build the bike? And your answer was really funny. You went, all of it. It's like literally all of it. There's nothing can be missing.
No. Oh, even, I mean,
and you talk about a crank arm's a fairly big bit. It could be something like a power cable.
Well,
if it was a Di2 shifter or a connector nipple or something.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. One of the most difficult things to get hold of at this moment in time is the two Campag brake bolts that screws your rear caliper onto the XR4 frame in that particular length for the height of your frame. So we could, and we could have absolutely everything in stock, but the two bolts that holds your rear caliper on, and guess what? Your bike doesn't get built.
Yeah,
because you can't just cut. You can't just cut down.
They do
the
bolts in
ones.
home base, mate.
Well, yeah. That'd be good if your rear brake failed.
yeah. So, I mean, that kind of leads us on to our build. So this is the problem that the big manufacturers have got, and you hear about it all over the place. People literally just not being able to get bikes.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the solution is other than huge investment by the three main component or group set manufacturers.
Yeah.
Because that's the only answer, right? Or a downturn in demand, but I can't see that happening anytime soon.
No, because life's changed, hasn't it? Yeah.
So our problem is, so if you're buying an off the peg bike, you've got a procurement department in Trek or Specialized or Bianchi or whoever your bike of choice is.
Yeah.
So let's say it's Trek, a procurement department of a $1 billion company picks up the phone to Campagnolo or Shimano or SRAM and says, I need X number of group sets, please, or else. They're likely to kind of, move heaven and earth to try and make that happen, right?
Yeah.
Because they're a $1 billion company.
Yes.
If you're doing a frame up custom build, and you're just me, with you guys building it, so you're going to go through a distributor. So you're going to ring the distributor and say, I need this group set. And then it didn't arrive. So you ring them up and say, it didn't arrive. What's the crack? They're not going to ring up Campag and say, get it to us or else. You just have to wait in turn until it happens. There's no, and that means that if you are doing a frame up custom build at the moment and you hit a problem, you could delay the build time frame by months.
Yes.
And there's nothing you can do about it.
No, absolutely. And it's a real nightmare, because we want to just delight our customers with our customer service, and so does the Campag distributor, and so does Campag. We all want to delight our customers. There isn't anybody within that chain who wants to turn around and say, do you know what we're going to do today? What we're going to do today?
We just sent petrol pen. Just his power cable and his battery.
Yeah. Isn't that brilliant? I wonder how that's going to go down on social media, right? So everybody needs to understand that we're not thinking that. What we're actually thinking is, flipping heck, we don't want to let these people down. But there is simply nothing we can do.
Yeah, so here's the thing, because I don't think at any point, by the way, we are having a dig at Campag, because Campag have been amazing during this project, like really, really amazing. All the different partners that we've kind of been working with have just been incredible.
Correct.
However, I've got a hypothetical I want to put towards you.
Yeah.
So at the moment, although just in time kind of works, there will be distributors and bike shops and suppliers that have or had stock
Mm.
pre this issue
Mm.
getting as bad as it's got. So let's say, 2019, 2020,
Yeah.
and we're eating into that stock. And there are still bike shops. You've got bikes in your wonderful new kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
goods in area, and you've got bikes on order, and you've got componentry on the
Yeah.
shelf. If supply continues to be the problem that it is currently, in 6 months' time, what's it going to look like? Because, bike shops like you, are you going to have, a whole bunch of component spares to do your servicing? Are you going to have bikes to be able to sell, or is everything going to grind to a big halt?
No, because things are still being built. It's just I think what we're going to have to get into, and we've got back orders now. So what
Mm,
basically happens is we have with our suppliers, we say, right, okay, we don't just want to order 4 to 6 months supply once. We order 4 to 6 months supply, and then in 4 months we get another 4 to 6 months supply, and then in another 4 months we get
yeah,
4 to 6 months supply. So we have
yeah, yeah,
multiple back orders going in and across the entire year. And again, it's a massive put your finger
yeah,
in your
yeah,
mouth and put it up to the wind, because you just still don't know precisely what you need to order and when. And what we
yeah,
and how we work it with customers now is, if somebody comes in and says, what I am after is a Bianchi Ultra XR4 CV disc in a 61 centimeter with a Campag Super Record EPS drivetrain, our stock response now is, okay, sir, so what you're looking for is a really high-end aero-derived road bike with a high-end electronic shift in a 61 centimeter frame size. So the more you filter down, this is precisely what I want to buy, the less chance you've got of getting
mm,
it. So what our
yeah,
job is to say is, well, are you absolutely 100% beholden to that manufacturer, to that group set, to that color, to that size? And if you are, great, because that's your dream bike. But the negative of that is the fact that you're going to have to just be incredibly relaxed as we start bringing this order together for you. However, if you were
yeah,
if you were
yeah,
slightly more flexible with the color, with the group set, with the frame, with this, that, and the other, then I might be able to deliver something quicker because I've got something that's already in the system that might suit you. We only have two red line issues with Criterium Cycles. Number one is it has to be the right frame size. So it sounds obvious,
hmm
but if somebody's on a 61 centimeter, we won't then say, do you know what, Peter? I haven't got a 61 centimeter, but I've got a 59. I should be able to shoehorn you onto that. Okay.
yeah,
That is a red line issue.
yeah.
That,
Ah,
that will never happen. Okay. Number two is it's got to be an appropriate type of bike. So we could have a 61 centimeter or an extra large mountain bike. So we've got the right frame size for you. It's a mountain bike.
mm,
Are you happy with that? No. So it's got to be an appropriate type of bike and the correct frame
yeah,
size. But other than that, we will now have an open conversation with, look, you've been very specific in the fact that what you want, getting hold of that particular product is going to be a nightmare. Would you be open to other suggestions? And the more people are, the more chance you've got of getting a bike that is going to really blow you away.
yeah.
Does that
And
make
again, I
sense?
mean, one of the reasons it does very much. And one of the reasons I wanted to do this in this podcast was to give the customer me,
Mm.
and those people listening who are customers of bike shops, an
Yep.
understanding of just what you guys are facing at the moment, so that between the
Yes.
two of us, the customer and the
Yes.
proprietor of the shop, we can
Yes.
all be civil to one another and all understand what's happening. I think.
Correct.
Um,
Correct.
I won't. I don't know. Did you see Watchdog this week? I don't know whether
No, I didn't. No.
there was a big thing about a bike shop that has green background and yellow lettering. Big goose.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you know the one I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. um,
I can guess.
yeah. Evans. And they had a
Yeah.
real problem with
For
basically people
for
ordering.
Evan's sake.
Yes, but
Yes.
honestly, people ordering bikes and then not getting them for a very, 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 very long time, and it was all because of
Yeah.
the issue we're talking about now. But the
Indeed.
but where they dropped the ball was their communication was very, very poor because of COVID.
Yes.
They've closed their phone line, so you can't actually ring them up to find out what the crack is, and there was a lot
Really?
of very unhappy people. But it was
Right.
I was watching it and thinking that I know that problem that sits behind that,
Yes.
and open and honest and quality establishments like you talk
Yeah.
about it to your customers, and it's that conversation. So in fact, when I was up there, you were
Yeah.
saying with one of the customers, I can't remember exactly what it was, but you're saying you almost kind of give them a call on a weekly basis just to update them on how things are going.
Well, it's difficult to do that because it's just it's simply and purely the volume of orders that we've got in. But what we try to do at the beginning is just be really, really open and honest.
Mm,
And that is, as we keep saying, if I've got it in stock, you can have it.
yeah.
If you look at the bike that I've got in stock that would suit what you wanted to do, it is the right frame size. It's just you don't like the color and you want to order a different color. That's fine. That's absolutely no problem at all. However, and we actually put up on the computer what the ETAs are showing from the manufacturer and say
Mm,
this is a live ETA sheet of when that bike that you are about to order is scheduled to arrive at Trek,
mm,
and then we're in the hands of the shipping agents to then get it to us. But there is a lot of things within this machine that could delay the progress of that particular bike. And as long as you are happy with that and you understand it, then I'm more than happy to take a small deposit, secure you the bike so you've got an allocation. And then when it does arrive, it will be built as quickly and efficiently as possible. And we will hand it over to you and it'll be new bike day and that'll be great. So if you're happy to proceed on that basis, brilliant. And customers have been amazing. I mean, absolutely amazing because we've
mm,
we've we've spoken in that regard. We've we never lead somebody down the garden path. We always are open with that kind of conversation. And I actually had a situation the other day where one particular customer, they've had the bike on order since the beginning of the year, and their bike, it was a mountain bike in a particular frame size and a particular color and a particular spec, and it just so happened that the alternate color arrived in the same frame size and the same spec, but it wasn't their number one choice of color. But their
mm,
bike is still about 2 to 3 months away. But we phoned them up and we said, listen, it's just a quick courtesy call. Your bike's still on order, but it's due at the moment in June time, but we know how it could slip. Before we put this onto open market, I've got the same bike in the same frame size, but I've got the blue one instead of the red one. What are your thoughts? And the customer said, do you know what? Thanks so much for calling. We'll have the blue one because I'd rather have the blue one now and be able to ride over spring and Easter
mm.
holidays than wait for a red one. So it's about this constant two-way
Yeah,
communication.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So no, cool. Okay, well let's kind of move on
Yeah,
onto other things. Just to kind of, I guess, one of the things, a couple of things as we move forward with Cycle Sunday that are gonna, it's gonna change a little bit. And I actually think that, I think the opportunities for that bring some really cool stuff.
yes,
So first of all, for the actual video that we put out on my YouTube channel, we've filmed some really cool stuff last weekend. So the
yeah,
next episode, I've got a real hankering for a gravel bike. But one of those things about gravel bikes is we did cover it in a previous podcast,
yeah,
but we've done an episode on gravel, all things gravel bikes, basically.
yes,
So,
yes,
what are they? You know, for me, a big question was, well, what's the difference between a gravel bike and a cyclocross bike?
yeah,
And if you like, a bit of a buyer's guide, and that's next weekend or
yeah,
next Sunday's episode.
yeah,
And then we'll try and drop stuff where we can to do with the bike build, because clearly we're
yeah,
on hold until we get the componentry.
yeah,
But we've done a fun video. I actually fitted my new tubeless tyres to my lovely Campagnolo WTO wheels. I
yes.
won't say anything about it, but it was a really interesting process.
It was
Um,
really interesting. And one thing that I will say,
mhm,
Mr. Greaves,
mhm.
I was very, and still am, very, very proud of you. Yeah, yeah. No, because it could have gone flipping wrong.
Oh yeah, yeah. When you stick a camera in someone's face and went, "There you go, let's do this live," which we did.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
But no, you embraced it, and it was
so
great.
you've
But
just given away now. It didn't go wrong then. Oh, it could have gone really badly wrong. But no,
yeah,
it
yeah.
was. I found it super interesting, and I'm not going to say anything else about it because I think I want people
No.
to tune in.
Yes.
Because I will be fully open and honest. When you said to me, "I think we should go tubeless," I really was not sure, to the point where I very nearly said, "I really want tubes. I'm used to them. It's what I've
Yeah.
always ridden. I'm
Yeah.
not happy." And actually, I'm super excited about it now, and I can't wait to
Yes.
ride the bike with tubeless.
Yes. Yes.
Um, so, and we've got some other really cool stuff planned. We've done a video on e-bikes, which is mega interesting. Because
Yes.
for me, actually, I know we've always tried to link the bike world to the car world with our
Yes.
analogies, but actually, the e-bike one was really easy to link e-bikes to
Yes.
electric cars in terms
Yes.
of terminology and tech and that
Yes.
kind of stuff.
Yeah. I might have got a little bit passionate on that one as well.
You do love no, and again,
Yeah.
we won't give
Yes.
it too much away, but
Yeah.
I found that one very interesting. And
Yeah.
again, all I will say is I wasn't sure about e-bikes, and much of that not being sure was a complete lack of understanding about what they were, how they worked, what they did.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
rode one around the car park and came back in and went, I need to have one of those in my life. It's brilliant.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
so that was good. So yeah, we got some really interesting stuff planned. When we can build the bike, I'll come back up to the shop, and we'll the plan was always to film the bike being built and then
Yes.
go up into the mountains behind the shop
Yeah.
and do a nice first ride video. We've got some really exciting plans for the end of the year or towards the end of the summer with the bike.
Yeah.
And I don't want to give anything away on that one,
No.
although we
No.
have
No.
actually given a hint away in one episode already. But yeah, we've got some really cool stuff. In terms of the podcast, this is for me where I think things will evolve a little bit, because
Mm.
the genesis of the podcast was that we couldn't fit all the things we wanted to talk about in an episode, in a 20-minute long episode. There was just too much
Yeah.
extra information. And we thought, well, why don't we back it up with a podcast
Yeah.
about an hour long where we can chat and geek out on podcasts or on bike tech?
Yes.
But now we're doing them, and I also learned. I think both of us just wanted to learn about the process of making a podcast.
Yes.
And interestingly, we've done all bar last week. We've done virtually, but obviously last week we were together.
Yes.
Um, and I think we'd like to evolve the podcast a little bit more and open it up to maybe have some guests and talk about others, always trying to get a kind of cycling related subject,
Yes.
but not necessarily about the video that you just watched, just
Yes.
a hot topic as such.
Yes.
So I think what we'll probably start to do is next week. Well, interestingly, next week will have to do it because the videos about gravel bikes, and we've already covered that extensively in a podcast before already. So
Yes. Yes.
we'll start with next week.
Yeah.
But what we'd really like is some ideas and suggestions for podcast topics.
Yes. Yeah.
We've filmed a great Q&A
Yeah.
that will be coming to Cycle Sunday soon.
Yeah.
Because there were lots of questions hanging over from all of the videos up till now.
Yes.
And I really enjoyed the Q&A. But subjects for podcasts, if people have got them, then reach out to us, put in the comments, or send us an email, or you can find a way of getting a message to us. Just send us a direct message on Instagram is probably the easiest thing, to be honest.
Yeah. Really good. And also, don't forget, we're both huge petrol heads as well. Obviously, Peter is very much so. But if there are,
You are.
massively. So if there are topics surrounding great cycling and driving roads, and transporting your bike, methods of cycle carriers, conversations about vans, all of those sorts of things, throw those at us as well, because we're really interested in that.
I've got one for next week.
What's that?
Subject for next week.
Yeah.
Carrying your bike on a car.
Carrying your bike on a car. There you go.
What's the do you use a roof-mounted cycle rack? Do you use a tow-bar-mounted cycle rack? Do you use a hang-on one on the back? I've used all three of those.
Yeah.
I won't give away. Next week I'll talk about which one I prefer. Do you put your bike in the car?
Yeah.
Do you let's do that. That's a really interesting one, actually.
Yeah. And
I remember
transport of e-bike as well.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
Yes.
But I remember when I had my S4, I wanted a tow bar put on the back. And Audi quoted me, I think it was £1,800, I think, to put a tow bar on the back. It was a lot of money.
Yes.
And the big bulk of it was reprogramming the ECU of the car, to reprogram all the stability management systems, because you're towing something.
Yes.
And the weight affects ABS and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I said to the guy on the phone, it was like, but I'm putting a 7.5 kilo road bike on a tow bar. I don't think it's going to affect the stability control systems at all.
Yeah, but always remember, I worked for BMW for a great many years, and one time, whenever I ordered a new BMW, I always ordered a factory order tow bar, because it was £695 from the factory. But if you wanted to fit the tow bar afterwards, it was similar to your Audi experience. It was a couple of £1,000. And part of the reason was the fact that BMW actually put a different cooling system and different alternator on the cars when a factory tow bar's fitted.
Well, didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's one of those things that, because the engine is going to be under more load, if it's going to be towing its towing capacity, then the engine has got to be cooled better. And also there's going to be more electrical surge through the system, because obviously it's having to do the lights on the trailer. And also, if it's a caravan, it's going to be split charge relays for the caravan. So that's why it's got a bigger alternator as well. But the other thing is, have you ever tried to remove a bumper off something like an Audi or a BMW?
Oh yeah, but I know off the front of a Mini, it's a nightmare.
It's
so off
hours.
The back, and
it's hours and hours of labour to remove them, and then you've got to fit the tow bar on, and then it's hours and hours to then refit it back. And the other thing is, on a lot of
Yeah.
factory fitted stuff, it's, you got the programming of the ECU and what have you. But the other thing is that on our last BMW, we had full park distance control, as most people have. So when you've got a tow bar mounted rack fitted to your factory fitted tow bar, plugged into your factory fitted terminal on the back of the vehicle, when you hit reverse, instead of you having a solid tone of your rear parking sensors, because it looks like it's just hit something, it automatically knows that something's plugged in. So on the park distance control, it deactivates the rear parking sensors and puts a little caution sign with a tow bar written in there. So there's a lot that goes on with these things. Anyway, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, save it for the podcast.
Indeed.
But no, honestly, I think there's, because there's some great stories there. If anyone's got any great stories about bike, normally mega failures, then please let me know.
Yes.
I have seen a guy picking up bits of a very expensive road bike off of the dual carriageway. Because it had come off the top of his bike. Anyway. So last thing, very briefly, just a quick 5 minutes on how's the new website and e-commerce going? Because I know when I was there, it'd only been open a couple of days, and you were getting orders flying through the door.
It's unbelievable. We just can't believe it. So it's going really well. I mean, we don't ship bikes. That again, it's a little bit of a red line issue for us at this moment. I mean, who knows in the future? Never say never. But we do believe that sizing people properly and give them an in-store experience, whether it by click and collect or deliver to the door, or just generally coming into the store and making an inquiry, is really important. And of course, we are open because of we're essential retail. When it comes, we're following all the guidelines, making sure that we're as we're compliant with government guidelines. But it still is one of those things that when you're making a purchase and an investment of that size, ordering a new pair of grips or a new bottle cage or an accessory for your bike is great. That's where the internet is brilliant. Or they've got it in stock. I'll order it, put it in a jiffy bag, and it arrives a couple of days later. That is what we're doing, and it's going great guns. But we're still firm believers that the bike purchase and the bike journey wants to be a relationship, not just a box turning up and there's your bike. So, but it's going fantastic.
And I think we've demonstrated that over the last few weeks in terms of just. I'm not for 1 minute suggesting that everybody that comes through your door and buys a bike from you is going to get the level of information download that I have, but it's there if you want it. And I'm sure most of the custom build guys that buy bikes from you get a very, very similar level of information given to them as I have. And I've as someone who's been cycling quite a long time, I've learned so much. That for me is the really important thing.
Sure.
Cool. Well, it's getting late. I know you're as you said, you're burning the candle at both ends, having to sort of be in the shop for such a long period of time. Every day. Until you get everything sorted.
Yes.
And you're still doing appointments over Easter weekend because you're dedicated to the cause. I did come away from the shop with one bit of Bianchi goodness. For those watching on YouTube, I've got a very, very lovely Bianchi fleece that I bought myself. And it's lovely. I haven't taken it off. Apart from, actually, you'll laugh. When I came home from drove back from visiting you, and I had my lovely Bianchi fleece, and it was quite a nice evening, and Tracy and I sat outside and we had a glass of wine, and I had a glass of red wine kind of like held in front of me, and the petrol pup jumped up at me and knocked the glass of red wine, and it went all over the front of my lovely Bianchi fleece. So I got red wine splats on me, white letters, straight in the washing machine.
Brilliant. Yes. And
It's all right.
yeah, and how did it wash, Peter? It was
Very good.
very good.
You'd never know it was very good.
Yeah. Oh, that's
But mate, hopefully everyone will or has enjoyed watching the video. If you haven't
yeah.
done, head over to Petrolped and give it a watch.
Yes.
Hope you've enjoyed this episode of Cycle Sunday and just another bit of insight into the world of bikes,
Yes.
really, and
Yeah.
the challenges being faced by the industry. And don't get me wrong, I think there's a big chunk of the challenge is a really, really positive thing.
Yes.
More people want to get out on their bikes.
Correct. It's
and
brilliant.
buy a bike or get their bike fitted, and
Yes.
or get their bike working, and that's superb.
Yes, indeed.
And long may that continue.
Yeah, very much. Very much.
But hopefully soon we'll get a lovely package from Italy.
Yes.
With a nice group set in it. We can actually build the bike.
Yes. Yes.
Because the torture of seeing the frame there and seeing the wheels, but not being able to kind of, or knowing it's going to be another 2 or 3 months before I can actually experience riding it for the first time.
Yeah, I just can't wait for that day. I can't wait for you to
I can't.
actually turn the pedals for the first time. I don't want to sort of build you up, but it's going to blow you away.
It's going to freak me out, I think.
Yes.
I really do.
Yeah. I think you might be a little emotional. But next week, actually.
I'll definitely be emotional. I cry at the easiest of things. But next week's video, next week's episode on gravel bikes, might be another Bianchi having to join the collection, because we use a Trek Crosspoint and the Bianchi Arcadex as our checkpoint, not Crosspoint. Sorry. And really deep dive into the world of gravel bikes, and I think people will find that really interesting, because I think, for me, if you were to have a one bike garage, we often say, people say, what would your one car garage be? And for me, it would be something like an Audi RS4 or something that kind of does everything quite well. You could do a track day, you can get stuff in the back, you can live with it. Well, that's a gravel bike.
Yeah.
Really, it does everything quite well.
Yeah.
So you guys need to tune in for that one. But we're going to draw this podcast to a close. Let us know any subjects for any podcast that you want us to cover. We'd love to know.
It would be brilliant.
Stay tuned. Keep tuning into Cycle Sunday, because we aren't going anywhere.
Yes.
We're enjoying making them too much.
Yes, and actually having a glass of wine tonight together.
Yes, I did know. Those people watching, you'll notice we've had a glass of wine. So I'm going to draw that one to a close. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've been Pete Greaves.
I've been Paul Bowker.
And we'll see you on the next one. Ride safe.
See you soon. Ride safe, everyone.